you can trust an insurance agency? We're not talking about the agents and the person selling the policy, but the agency in general. If you look us up, Think Insurance is kind of just a brand on YouTube where I just help and give advice. Some of you have filled out quotes and gone to my actual agency, which I don't want to tie the two together. They're still separate, and I have a local agency that's licensed in 10 different states. So when we go into a new state, my thought is, okay, well, how can someone trust that we're going to take care of them, that we even have the licenses and we're able to take care of the policies correctly? So let's go through just the step when a new agency enters a different state and how that plays out. Now, this actually spurred from a video I'm going to make shortly. It was about Illinois now reaching the top worst state for insurance. It's increased quite a bit. And I'm like, oh, we just got licensed there. So now we can insure there. And the thought in my mind is like, how can I understand, like, how can I build this and how could someone trust us instantly versus the companies that have been established there? So the first piece you have to think about is, what appointments does that agency have? Because if they've been running and operating, going into a new state, at least I'd say 8 out of 10 times, doesn't make any difference. Yeah, sure, the state has different rules and regulations, but apart from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Michigan, Florida actually doesn't even have that complicated of a system. California is legally troublesome as far as insurance goes, as figuring it all out. But the rest of them, there's almost identical. They're just different minimums, different rules. Yeah, Georgia has some weird added and reduced by medical coverage or uninsured motorist coverage, but that's easy to understand. Most policies, you have bodily injury if you injure someone, you have property damage if you damage the car, you have your full coverage or comp and collision for your vehicle, and that's like in medical, right? And other states have PIP and all these weird things and added by and reduced by and spouse's liability and all of these different things and torts and all of the side pieces. But in states like Illinois, unless you're doing a house and you have to have like mine subsidity coverage, like different little weird things that they have for homes, in general for auto and home, they're almost identical. So trusting a new company going into a different state should be very possible whenever this is going to happen. The biggest thing you have to worry about is how trustworthy are they digitally. So if you go online, don't get me wrong, there's the older company, they're not on Google, they're not on Facebook, they don't have a website. Honestly, most of those are trustworthy because if they've been around that long, sure, walk in the door, you meet the person, you shake their hand. That model really just doesn't exist anymore. I honestly don't even want to go get groceries. I'd rather have them delivered. I don't want to go buy batteries. I don't even want to go to the store that's 2 miles down the road. I'd rather just have it delivered. So we're kind of in that digital world where things are just processed and brought and purchased via digital, phone, text, all of the different ways of communication. One of them that has mostly fallen off is the face-to-face. Now, I actually have some friends that are agency owners that do a lot of face-to-face, and 80% of their business is that way, and they have to be there, they have to be logged in, they have to be available, and it's just not the model that most, if even ours, follows in general, because we're in 9 different states. There's no way I'm gonna have a presence in Illinois or Texas or Tennessee or Virginia or Ohio or all these states that we're in. We're gonna be there digitally. We're gonna be available to answer the call. Actually, none of those states are even difficult or complicated in any which way as far as insurance goes, so it makes it simple for us to help. A lot of it is diving into prices and premiums and finding the right fit for the right customer. That's what gets you that sweet spot. That's what gets you the best price, is because we focus on the coverages first, and then we focus on which company is a good fit for those coverages that you need, and then the price starts to fall in line because they all have different things that they want and need. So when you're looking at an agency, the reviews online should play a big factor. If they've only got 5 or 10, that kind of shows you they've only been around for a few years. They really just haven't focused on the digital. It depends on the websites that you go to. If you go to the local food restaurant place, I forget the name of it, there's a little pin, let me know in the comments below the name of it. I think we got a 1-star review on there once, and so we just never did it again. So we got 1-star review and we look horrible. But then you go to Google and we've got 30 or 50 5-star reviews, not one below that. And so in general, you've got to focus on not just the one little space, but focus on which place is giving the constant reviews. What I like to do with companies, if they're major companies, if I'm looking at insurance company, not an agency or an agent, the company, I will look at several different pages. Go into Google, type in reviews for X, Y, and Z insurance company, And then I'll go through a few of them. And you're going to take time. If you're going to purchase a policy correctly, you should know, okay, is this happening in my area? Are they getting good reviews? What's the most common complaints? Is it claims focused? Is it rude customer service? Or does everybody just love them? Obviously on their website, there's ways that they can show only the top 5-star reviews, which is probably should be outlawed in my opinion, but there's ways around that stuff, right? So they're tricking you into those. I'd rather have the different sites and probably take 2 to 3, sometimes 4 sites and mash them together to come up with my review system. Now, when you go outside of the company and you're looking at more of the agency level, so you're looking at blah, blah, blah's insurance, right? The local guy down the road, whether they're in your state or not, they're called a non-resident if they're not in your state. But if even that's the case, usually Google is the answer because they're not going to be on all these review sites. They're just not large enough for it to matter. So you're going to see their website, you're going to look them up on Google, they're going to either have a 3.5, a 4.0, or a 5-star. Honestly, if it's below a 3-star, you really got to be above a 4-star in my opinion to even have merit. But if you're below a 4-star, look at the number of reviews, look at what it is. Is it something that they're just not paying attention to and just didn't realize that they're only focused on bad reviews for somehow by accident? It happens. And so you got to dive into that piece and make sure that you're looking at the right agency at the right point for the location that you want to be in. The way that their company works is to get licensed in your state. So for us to get licensed in Illinois, I had to go and file a license for the company, and that company gets appointed, and then each agent that I want to sell in that state has to individually get licensed. You got to be a little careful because we used to play the old way where it was like a gray area and it was like, okay, one guy can hold the license and we can all sell underneath them. And the more I dove into that, I realized that that's actually not the route you're supposed to go. So make sure that if you're a company watching this or an agency gets licensed, then your individual agents gets licensed. Yeah, it costs you twice as much. I get it. It's $500 to get licensed, and then it's another $250 to $400 to get the agent license, maybe $500. So now you got 3 agents, you're paying $3,000, $2,000 to get those licenses processed. 5, 10, 15 to 4 agents, we'll say, $2,000. Math is hard. And then that's it. Once you've done that, you don't have to prove anything or show anything. That's why I say look at their Google reviews, because an agency going into another state, although can be difficult as far as are they going to quote us correctly, most of the time, no. I would say 8 out of 10 times you're probably okay as long as they have the good reviews and they seem reputable. Then you're probably okay there. So you still got to be careful because there are those 2 out of 10 places that just threw it out there and they're just throwing things out there to get you to quote with them. They want to sell your information. They want to get your quote in there, sell you the cheapest policy, and then it just doesn't benefit you. You'll actually start to feel that as you talk to that agent because they're not really going to speak with you. They're not going to understand, like, what's your situation? Do you have a lot of assets? Do we need to protect anything? Or is it just like, how cheap are you paying? How cheap can I get you? Let's do it. It's cheaper than what you got. At the end of the day, they're hurting themselves anyways because most customers don't stay with those agencies long term. By the way, if you are shopping for car insurance or home insurance, we'll put a link in the description below where you can work with a local agent. I work with many independent agents, including ours as well, that can help get you through some quotes and find out if there's better fits for what you're currently paying for insurance. Link is in the description below. Otherwise, a Better Business Bureau complaint is not going to hold weight anymore. The BBB is still there and they're still strong, but they're still a company. I've had them call me directly and say, well, you can get this and this if you pay this much. So we can stamp your website with the BBB and we can do this and we'll help you get good reviews. 1, I don't think I know anyone that uses them anymore. 2, they're a good resource if you want to file a complaint against an agency, but they're also a place where if you do see someone file a complaint against an agency, unless there's multiple of them, the one complaint is not something to focus on. Honestly, a couple complaints, we have none, by the way. I'm not trying to cover up anything, but I don't think we have any activity there. I hope not. Unless there's, I would say 3 or more complaints on that agency, I would lean more towards the Google reviews because the BBB is like the go-to to try to affect a company's growth. Even though it really doesn't make much of a difference, at least in my opinion anymore, it's just something that I wouldn't necessarily focus on. As far as companies, there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, but nobody goes online for insurance. At least most of them don't go online to give positive reviews. So it's tough to decipher when a company that you're joining is actually doing well. I'll give you a really good example. I'll call the company out right now. It's Safeco Insurance. I have my insurance policy through Safeco at the current time. Don't raise my rate again. I will not stay. No, I'm just joking. But the reviews are bad. If you go online, they're like a 3 to 3.5. I haven't looked it up in at least a year, and I've heard it. Like, they're not good. But the more I dove into it, and the more I thought about it, and the more I started researching it, they're one of my favorite companies. And the reason is not because Safeco is bad. It's because the agents that are selling their policies, a lot of them, to keep the growth, to keep the structure, they're partnered with these agents. And a lot of these agents, at least what I've seen from policies that I've rewritten from their agencies, just didn't write the right coverage. So when you're not adding the certain protection, you're not adding the water backup, because you have to understand that the Safeco policy is not strong until you add the pieces to make it strong. It's not as protective until you add the pieces to make it protective. They weren't designed for the low cost policy. It's more of the smaller companies that are looking to say, okay, we like the high risk, we like the DUIs, we like the tickets, we like one water claim in the house, because now we can charge a little bit more. And the Safeco is not that way. They're more of a, we don't like any of that. If we see a lot of activity or multiple pieces joining us, we don't even want to do that. So we're going to either increase the rate, which makes them not competitive. Again, that makes you not a fit for that one. You're a fit somewhere else. But in general, being more strict is great, because then when I do have the fit, price is aligned, the coverage is aligned, everything's perfect for that client. But on the backside, you're going to get a lot more negative reviews against the company because A, they raised my rate. B, they don't cover me in the scenario because the agent didn't write it correctly. Or C, it took X amount of time. I actually had another scenario where a mechanic shop told the customer that they didn't like company A because they were really tight on paying claims before the claim even went through. The claim was done in 3 days. It was too quick. The mechanic shop couldn't even get it fixed in time because they're waiting on parts. And then on top of it, the check came and they had another thing they had to add to it. So then the mechanic shop is complaining that everything, when it could have just been fixed. And at the end of the day, the customer only sees that front. That is the face of what they're seeing. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of companies out there that are the opposite. So again, trust the agent, trust the company you're with, know if you got the right coverages. I've got several videos that are gonna help you. Home Insurance 101 if you need to learn those coverages. Car Insurance 101 if you need to learn those coverages. Understand that part first, then dive into some of the videos on here that are how to pick the right insurance company, how to find the right fit. Hopefully this is helpful. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.